If you can't be in the field chasing gun dogs, the next best thing is talking about it.
Join Wade and Thomas as we discover the people, the places, and the birds, and of course, the gun dogs that make upland hunting our passion.
This is the Setter Tales Podcast.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to this episode number 49 of the Setter Tales Podcast. I'm Wade. Thomas here with me tonight. We're going to do a little open fields episode tonight. We're going to talk some of the things that are coming up here for the hunting season. But first, last week we had our friend from Alabama on, Bret Ingram, and we talked about setters and some other things, and Bret getting kind of involved in hunting a little late in life, but he was telling us he was headed to North Dakota for a grouse hunt, his first time trying out that species of birds. And I think we have him right now. He's actually in the field as we speak, and we're going to go see how things are going up there in North Dakota and what it's like.
Live from the prairie.
Yeah. And
Greetings from windy North Dakota.
Well, tell me, what was it like, that first experience seeing that first sharp-tail?
Well, the first experience for me was I thought it was a hen pheasant that got up, and they look so much similar, and they'll laugh at you. They'll laugh at you as they're flying away. It's been a great experience. We today is overcast. I don't know if you can see it in the background. Temperatures getting close to 70. Winds blowing 20, 25. And when they get up in that wind, it's hard to bring them down.
Now, you've been up there since Thursday? You started hunting on Friday morning, correct?
Let's see. We started Friday afternoon. It was a full day's drive for us from Alabama. So we broke it up a little bit. We got it right inside of South Dakota, and we pulled over and stayed in a hotel, got up early that next morning, and got here about 1:30ish. And we went straight to the field around 1:30. And Coach, he got 2 Sharpies the first day. And today we're not going to count the misses, but we've had 3 chances.
Well, that's it kind of, and I've never hunted up there, nor have I ever taken a shot at a sharp-tail either. I'd like to do that someday, but it sounds like you got to do a lot of walking, and then once you can find them, right?
Once you can find them, you can when you can figure them out too, because it's not like pheasant hunting. They're not in the tall grass. They are in ankle-deep grass. Well, the ones that we found, ankle-deep grass in patches of alfalfa, or we found them on sides of hills with the grass about shin high on the away from the wind alongside of hills. We found them mainly yesterday in that alfalfa patches and sides of hills.
What kind of size of coveys are you seeing up there?
Coach, he said the same thing as I said. Friday we saw 1 or 2 together. Yesterday we saw, what was it, Coach? About 7? Several coveys of about 7 to 8 that got up. Today, early this morning, we had a covey of them fly in alongside of a hill, and it was about 10 of them. Wasn't it, Coach? About 10 of them that fly in. We don't know where they flew in from, but they flew on the side of a hill. And it was about 10 of them. But mainly, they were just 1 or 2, and that's it.
Now, I did a little research on these, and they're obviously my bucket list, so maybe a next year's trip. Excuse me. But what I've been reading is, you talked about the distinctiveness between them and a hen pheasant. Now, the laugh I hear is excruciating when they, if you can't tell the difference with the sunlight or it happens so fast, then you get that laugh at the end. But a lot of them will say they'll get up quicker. They'll get up in groups, obviously. Hen pheasants, when we're hunting pheasants, they're usually by themselves. Or a hen pheasant or a pheasant's wings will be a little straighter, and they say the sharp tails will be curled. Is that kind of what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, and come on, Coach. Yeah, and you're looking for that white underbelly here. I can bring one out for you. I don't know if you can see, but yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
underside is kind of white, and then on the back side it looks just like a hen pheasant.
Yeah, they do.
Size of sharp tail.
And then they have, of course, the sharp tail, as you see.
Yep. Very nice.
Yeah, and then the legs too. Got that.
I got that sock on them, so to speak.
So
there.
got the socks on them. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful bird.
So what are some of the terrain things that you're seeing? Obviously, it looks fairly flat, like maybe Iowa, where we're at. Obviously, the grass is shorter. Most of the United States has been dry. At home, we just have gotten 3 inches in the last 36 hours, surprisingly, in rain. So, what do you see in this terrain? When it's dry, you get sandburrs. It's pretty light soil up there. Are you running any sandburrs? Any, difficult for the dogs? Anything like that?
No, we haven't hit any of that. And we avoided the rain yesterday. It rained where we're staying in Mott pretty heavy, but we were up in the Dickinson area and they didn't get any rain. We started out this morning around the Mott area and it was just too wet, too moist. And we got in some gumbo driving up. But it's mainly, as you can see, I don't know, guys, can you see the background?
Can.
It's mainly what we're seeing them in, ankle deep grass in patches of alfalfa. And on sides of hills, shin high grass. And in the heat of the day, they tend to go underneath some olive trees, Russian olives, and underneath some trees. We found a nice covey yesterday underneath some trees.
What let's get Coach on there. He's kind of the leader of the pack? He's been up there before, it sounds like.
Listen, I'm going to tell you, remember last time we talked, we were talking about onyx and how I devoted a lot of time and I thought I had it figured out and I had all my lands plotted, all my plots lands and pinned. This joker gets up here and he broke out the old school way of doing it. And I'm going to tell you, he has guided the whole trip. I did away with onyx. I'm just relying on him on his old time plots.
The old books. Old books.
Here he is.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, bud. How are you?
Yeah. Well, we wanted to get you on camera, so the nation can see both of you. It sounds like this is not your first time up there in North Dakota. It doesn't sound like.
This first time, actually the first time in North Dakota, but I've hunted South Dakota, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska. So I've been around a few states.
So what do you like about these sharptails versus, say, pheasants or quail?
I'm really enjoying the fact that I can turn my dogs loose and let them get out there and you can see them. In fact, it's weird. I haven't even hardly run any of my GPS on them. I just let them go hunt. And so you can see them for 400 or 500 yards.
Very nice.
But that's the biggest thing. And, we hunt a lot of pheasants and you can't really see the dogs. You just have to kind of rely on when you get the points and stuff. And I use Garmin equipment and it vibrates on my wrist that when they go on point. So with the pheasant, so it's been a lot of fun to really run them in this big country. I wish I'd had a horse up here the last couple of days.
Yeah, that'd be the only. It looks like pretty. I mean, it's the kind of country I'd love to hunt with my old decrepit knees. But my biggest challenge in a ground like that is like, okay, what's the strategy to start hunting it? It's so big and vast.
It is. I'm looking. I always look for kind of the same thing with pheasants. Is there a food source close by? And I was told that the sharptails really like the shorter grass. So I'm kind of avoiding the knee high grass that you would see pheasants in. Now, we've seen probably 100 pheasants up here. In fact, I've told my buddies that next year we're going to wait till October and make a run back up here in October and have all the seasons open at the same time, because we could have limited out on pheasants in about an hour every day.
Really? Wow.
So,
Yeah,
but it's
looking
been-
at the totals throughout the states, it looks like North Dakota had a 60% increase on pheasants, sharptails, everything that you can upland hunt up there. Sound like they were wet. They had a terrible winter, but
right.
you know, those birds survived and really had a booming crop this spring.
Especially all the hens that you're seeing up there.
All the every field you walk is just full of grasshoppers and bugs and stuff right now, and so they apparently had a bumper crop in those, which goes directly to how many birds you're going to have.
Now, what other species have you run into? You run into any huns or anything else up there?
Our buddies have run into some huns. We really haven't hunted them yet. In fact, we're going this afternoon to see if we can get in some huns. I've never killed a hun, and I'd love to check that one off the bucket list. I've never killed a sharptail. I've killed the prairie grouse and stuff, but I'd like to get at least one hun while I'm up here.
Oh, now, well, you guys have another couple days, don't you, to hunt before you come out, head back?
Right. We're not going to come back until probably Thursday. So we've got several more days, and if my old knees will hold up, because I think we got in 26,000 steps yesterday.
Ooh, wow, man! I don't know, guys. I think that horse sounds pretty good to me. I don't know.
I know a couple guys up there training still. They got some horses they'd probably hook you up with.
And it sounds like there's a reason that a lot of the guys go up there to train. And
it is. I've got several of. I've had a couple of litters of short hairs and had several of them come up here with trainers to. I don't personally own them, but they're field trial dogs, so they bring them up here in the summertime and run them.
Now, I know you got a setter and you got short hairs. Do you have any other breeds of hunting dogs you guys are running on this trip?
No, I left the English cocker at the house this week, but she'll be back for pheasant season.
There you go. So normally, how many dogs are you putting down at a time?
We'll put down 3 or 4 at a time.
Oh, okay.
So
that'll be plenty of country to cover.
Yeah, we've got a mixture of young dogs and old dogs and experienced dogs. So it's been good. It's been really good for these young dogs to, even if they lock up on a pheasant, it's really good for these young dogs.
Yeah, that's the thing about hunting up there. When you go in on that flush, you never know what you're going to get. That's kind of the exciting part of it, I would think.
Right. Well,
be for me.
The dogs get off in the higher stuff, and we have a young man up here that's never really been out hunting at this kind of stuff. He's hunted pen raised birds and stuff, and I will tell him that, hey, look, we're in pheasant grass right here, so it's probably a pheasant. Be sure that you don't pull the trigger until you make sure you see the white. Yeah. So but you never know what you're going to get.
One question on your strategies while you're up there. You guys are probably doing like walk-in management areas and public hunting.
Yes.
What is your strategy? So I'm looking at this field behind you, and the wind's blowing 20-25. Obviously, you want to put those dogs' nose into the wind. Are you making passes, or are you just dumping the dogs and just following the dogs and just letting them work the wind and do it the way they want to do it?
Where we parked at on this particular field is where we found a couple of coveys yesterday. We stopped back by today just to see what we would do. And we hunted down the right side with the wind blowing kind of across. And then where we thought the birds might be, we turned and came back into the wind. So we kind of avoided going downwind with the dogs going out. Then we turned and came back into the wind. That's actually when we found a couple. So.
Are these birds, are they running at all, or are they sitting pretty tight?
Yes, they're running. In fact, the last one I didn't get a shot at, but one of my short hairs had gone on point, and then just kind of by the time we got over there, she lost it, and she went a different direction, and we went another 40, 50 yards. And then that bird got up again, but she was not over there. We didn't have any dogs in that area. So,
Yeah, that's difficult anywhere, anything you're hunting, any cover. When you got such a sheer wind going, it makes it difficult for the dogs. But I think once the dogs start figuring out, you can really have a lot of fun.
yeah. And, the sharptails I haven't figured out because I'm seeing some just get up wild as they can and nobody around them. And then I have, we missed 2 a while ago, and, the dog was on point. She's 75 yards from us. We get up there, the birds were 20 yards in front of her, and perfect scenario. And of course, we whiffed twice. So
now you can see these running ahead of you with that short grass. So that makes for a dog that's got to be real steady, or they, so they just don't go running after them.
Right. Yeah. You better. This is a great area for birds. I guide for Orvis in Alabama at Purcell Farms, and I wanted more than anything just to come up here and get my dogs on wild birds to get them used, ready for hunting season.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we sort of appreciate you guys taking the time to check in with us.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, and good luck on the rest of your hunt. And we'll talk again, and we'll follow up. And Bret, thanks again. We never tried this before, but it's kind of cool when it all works. When the technology works, it's kind of cool, especially seeing you standing out there in the middle of that open country.
Open country. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. Well,
how is your boy doing on a new species?
Topa is doing wonderful. He hasn't pointed a Sharpie yet, but he is pointing. He's pretty steady. Even in the wing wash of Sharpies, he has pointed. So that's very promising. But he's having a great time. He's extending himself out. He'll check back in with us. He's learning a ton. He's really learning a ton, and he looks good out there too. Just what I pictured. You can really watch him work, and it's great to see. Pretty.
Are you shooting some video of that big boy out there on the plains?
I haven't even taken hardly 1 or 2 photos because I need to do a better job. You
need to document that.
Yeah, when you're having fun, it is.
It's hard to do.
It's easier just to keep the phone and the camera in your pouch and just go enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, I know you guys got to get back at it here, but there we go. That's what it's all about.
Got to get it.
We will. I'll get a chance to talk to you when you get back and get an update on how everything else went, and we will talk to you soon. Have a safe trip back.
Okay, Thomas Wade. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great one.
Have a safe trip.
Take care.
That's cool. Just to be able to zoom in on them guys out there and get that experience, and it makes me wonder why I'm not out there and kind of kick myself for it. But
well, yeah, I mean, I like the idea of going a little later in October, and then you can hunt all those species. Mm-hmm. I think that would probably make more sense. Other than North Dakota, you got to watch that weather, But how late you get to go. But I think October would be pretty good up there.
Well, I was planning on going there a couple times last year, and the weather kind of killed me both times. And in the one time, it wasn't bad weather, but my buddy up there is a rural route mail guy, and he's like, I know all the people, come up a little later. Then he calls and he goes, we got some ice. Can you wait a day? And I said, yeah. And then as he was talking to me, he goes, I'm on the side of the highway. There's, a FedEx truck and there's cars in the ditch. And then he says, I don't even know if I'm going to make it home tonight. And I heard a boom. And I go, what was that? And he goes, I just fell on the ice and I think I just broke all my ribs.
Man.
And he did. Trying to help these people, see if they're okay or get him in his vehicle, warm him up. And then he slipped and broke his ribs and hurt himself. And like, well, maybe if he would have been yakking his ear off, he wouldn't have been hurt. But
that was a little later in the year.
It was a little later. And then I decided to go to Kansas. So,
yeah.
And, that was a whole different animal itself on what kind of terrain that is down.
Well, and that tells you the dedication of some of these guys that hunt. Obviously, we spend a lot of time with our dogs, but when you make a 1,700-mile journey, spend a few days in the field, then that's that's what you call guys that are really into the upland. So
Yeah, and they've obviously done their homework, so
Yeah.
they know where to hunt, and they're strategizing. A lot of people say, "Well, I'm gonna go here, here. Here's my pins. Here's highlighted this field on the map." We asked him. He's like, "They're in the shorter grass. There's got to be some alfalfa, and then when it's windy, they're on the backside of the hills, and you got to learn that and learn from it as you're there. And they're going to the same field. They'd seen birds. They hadn't had any action with them. They saw them fly in and fly out. So 30-mile-an-hour winds. You got to really have a good strategy when you go into those fields.
Yeah, and before we went on camera, before you got here, when we were trying to link up to make sure all the technology was going to work, Bret mentioned that they had only seen one other group of hunters since they've been up there. So, I mean, it's kind of, you would think there would be a few more than that, but maybe that country's so big and vast that,
it is.
You don't tend to see anybody, and maybe nobody's up there this time of year really chasing them. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know, and I'm not so sure if some of the sharptail trials are going on. I think there's actually a big sharptail trial going on in the next few weeks. There's some big dog trials, so you might pull people away. I had 3 pups leave this week, and it sounded like everybody that is going is actually going, like, starting this weekend and next week. So maybe it's the time of year, and I can see it in Iowa. You'll think, oh man, opening weekend's going to be terrible. There's going to be people all over. And it's usually the week after or the week after that. Then you start seeing the out-of-state vehicles.
Right.
And I'm not sure if South Dakota is this way, but I'm not sure if North Dakota has a time where only the locals can hunt. Maybe it's a week earlier. I've never checked into the regulations up there, but from what I've heard, there's going to be a lot of people headed up there, and there are people out in Nebraska too hunting. So they got a lot of sharptails just in that area. So good for them. If they're not seeing a lot of people, they got a lot of choices to go hunt.
Yeah, and for for a little housekeeping here, things that because we had those guys on and they were in the middle of the field, we wanted to get to them right away. But tonight is episode 49, as I mentioned earlier, and tonight's episode is brought to you by Highland Hunting in Riverside, Iowa. If anyone out there, if you would like to be interested in being a sponsor and getting on the podcast, just drop us a line. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. Again, tonight we're just doing an open fields, kind of updating everybody on what's been going on. Obviously, the season has started for many, such as Bret and the coach, but it won't be long, and we'll all probably be seeing some field time. The dogs are ready, and it's starting to feel like fall around here in Iowa, at least in this last week, and so that helps. And puppies are all pretty much gone, headed for their new homes.
Yeah, I got one. He is headed to Upper Peninsula, Michigan on Tuesday, and I had one person bail on one. So it wasn't really a bail. He didn't know what he wanted, and he decided that he wanted a male. So Stephanie is actually going down to an outdoor mentors meeting in Kansas. So when we record Thursday, I'll be bringing a puppy along. So maybe we'll get him on camera and kind of show you what he looks like. And
so you just have the one left then?
So I just have one of the most beautiful pups in the litters left. That guy had wanted her, and then he goes, well, I kind of want that male. So I still have one left. One is on a transport on her way to Pennsylvania. And then I had a guy from southern Illinois or southern Wisconsin, Illinois, and he's a guide, and he guides grouse hunts, pheasant hunts on public land where they do a lot of in Wisconsin they release birds. So people will pay him, since the thing about there, if you want to be a pheasant hunter, not a lot of people are just going to have pheasant dogs. So he's got that little niche where he's got some bird dogs. He's got a couple, actually Boykin Spaniels. So he had one of them along. So they were really neat dog. He didn't want to be too friendly, because when we put a puppy in the kennel, the topper was rattling, and he thought that puppy was squealing and crying and mad, and he didn't want to come out of the truck. Well, we got him out of the truck, and then that puppy started howling again, and he thought, what in the heck? Somebody's getting in trouble. So he hid under the pickup. So we had to coax him out from underneath the truck and petted him up. But yeah, it's been a cool experience to see where all these pups are going. So
Yeah.
a lot of them are going to be grouse dogs, and I think 90%, besides the 2 I have, they're all going to be going on for trial homes. So
So you kept 2 then?
I did keep 2. I got a little male. I'll get Will some pictures, and maybe we'll post them a picture of me with the 2 dogs. But all my dogs are named after songs. It's some kind of song that's impacted me or one of my favorite artists. So Steph and I, she goes, well, we named the 2 girls I was going to keep Reba and Dolly. So it would be Big Marsh Fancy after one of Reba's songs, and then we were going to name the other one not Big Marsh 9 to 5, and we called her Dolly. Well, then we switched up, and I thought, well, I'm going to keep this male, so we're going to call him Big Marsh Rainbow Stew, and we're going to call him Merle. So Merle Haggard.
Merle.
So we got Merle Haggard and Reba.
There's a good bird dog name.
Yeah, and I took them home, and we took them for a ride from one of my mentors that taught me everything about dog training in the labs, and a little bit about the pointers, stuff that I just needed to really be good at. And unfortunately, he's in a wheelchair. He can't hunt anymore, but he's still about it. So we took Merle and Reba up there to visit him, and he's a big time lab guy, but tough and rugged. But they won his heart and took him home for a while, and I had him in the house run around for about 45 minutes, and I did not have one accident. So
there you go.
They were into everything. I was like, maybe I'll just bring one in at a time, 8 weeks old. And they had my coon rug drug out, and I got just a rug that my dad and I got a coon, my first coon, so raccoon when we were hunting. So I have the rug, and they had it drug out, and big dog bones, big ones, and they're carrying them around. Their little legs are coming off the ground, and then one would hear it run across the hardwood floor, and the other one would perk up and go, that sounds fun. So then you had 8 little legs pounding on the floor, and then my socks were eventually tore off my feet, and every blanket and pillow was getting killed, and they were shaking, and they're having a blast and looking in their reflection. So it's really cool to see the attitude on these pups and watching them grow. And one pup is going up. She's going to be on cover dog trials, and he come down last week and got her, and he immediately took her home, and she 100% got into the program right away. So it was really good to see. He was sending me pictures, got her home, put her in her kennel, fed her. He uses the same dog beds I do. Fed her, put a little pillow up there for her, and she went and laid on the bed. And then when it was time to get everybody outside, she went with, and he says she conformed to the program right away, goes outside and goes potty. And then he folded a live pigeon up, folded the wings, and threw that pigeon out there. And second day she was there, and that little turd went down and grabbed it and was dragging it along. And then he got it up, threw it again, and she chased it and grabbed it and trying to pick it up. She's 7.5 weeks. He's doing this, and she's playing with that bird and kind of pointing a little, but just really loving gnawing on the feathers. And he unhooked the wings and let that pigeon go, and it shot off like a rocket, and she stayed right with it through the trees until that pigeon got way up in the air. She couldn't see it anymore. And he said he was most impressed, and a couple of the customers, I sent this video out, and that little pup just kept going and going, and then started spreading out and hunting. And he goes, well, that's what we want. And so it's good to see that everybody's already working with their pups.
Yeah,
and I guess I need to speed up and start going with mine. But I did have an unfortunate event with my pigeons. I went and got more.
Yeah.
And a coon come in and cleaned me out. So I looked in there to feed, and like, there should be 10 in here. Where are they all at? And then there's one up in the corner, curled up in a ball, like something happened.
Now, we had that happen a few years ago, and it, they'll terrorize the place. I mean, and just kill them to be killing them. I don't know why, but
yeah, there's no
rhyme or reason.
There is, and the only way he can get in is the flippy door, and it was my fault for not shutting it. But
Yeah.
but it's like he went in there with that was his plan, and there's no evidence, zero evidence that there's no feathers, there's no carcasses, there's no
Oh,
nothing.
really? Wow.
It's all gone.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, and one thing about naming dogs, you mentioned that, and yeah, would be interested anybody out there, if you're the listeners. I know everybody kind of has a way they name dogs, and Travis, my son, names his dogs after old legendary baseball players, and obviously that's why we have Ruthie, who's named after the old Babe Ruth, and so everybody kind of has a little, a thing that they do, and that's what's kind of cool about it. So. Hey, drop us a line. Like to hear what your methods is. So how do you name your dogs? After, as like Thomas mentioned, after songs, after movies, after old cowboy western stars, whatever. Just let us know. We'll talk about that in one of the future episodes that we do. But on one of the things that we want to do, of course, is to make sure the dogs are prepared to go in the field. And for me, that's a little harder than others, just because of my getting around and getting out and making sure the dogs run what they need to. I know you do a four-wheeler thing. You've kind of running some dogs that way, and try to rotate them because you have several. But it's going to be important to get those dogs some time in the field to get in that condition. Usually they condition pretty quickly, but if you can get them out there now that the temperatures have dropped, it's a good time. Get them out there, get them running, get them thinking about birds. And like I said, we're a month or so away. We got the Heroes Hunt coming up in 2 weeks, and that usually is the kind of the kickoff for at least the preserve season that goes on down at Highland, and it'll be October 7th. So we'll be a few weeks from wild bird season, and so it's coming. It's coming fast.
Yeah, I'm real excited about it. I've been getting the dogs out when it's cool and running them. I run them about a mile. So they're I got them on I got a big PVC pipe that runs across the back of the four-wheeler. And then I got big heavy-duty bungee straps on the ends. So they have a harness. And the old dog, Boomer, he's like, yeah, he likes to run. He's like, yeah, this is all right. But I put CJ on there. I'm trying to get her conditioned back, get her back. And it's doing a phenomenal job with her. And then the two young dogs, they got that pole bent around already before I even start the four-wheeler up. They're ready to, so they're running, and we did dump them out in some hay ground the other day and just let them run, and it was fun to just see them like, hey, we can run again, and of course they come in with every burr and sticker that, I can't wait for a frost now, just to kind of knock all that stuff down. But
yeah,
we're getting them in shape, and we no more than walked over and boom, CJ was on point. It was just like, you've been cooped up all summer with babies and you're out of shape and you're skinny, and she run out like 75 yards and just pow. And then the pup come in and honored her, and we walked in, and I'm like, I can hear it running through the grass. And I thought they come in out of there a couple times already with stickers, and I can hear it. And then then we walked back the truck when the wind was blowing hard and the dogs are upwind, and we stepped on a hen. So I'm pretty sure whatever that hen had made a circle around us in the tall grass, and so, but we did see some birds where you wouldn't see birds this time of year. So I'm hopeful.
Well, and that brings up, I saw that the Pheasants Forever had the 22 states, and they had the forecast, and it looked like Iowa really has had a good year as far as what we've done in the last few, but looks like the numbers are up substantially from last year.
I think we may have touched on this before, but I talked with my friend who's a local DNR, and the DNR building's right next to my house, and talked to those guys, and it was so dry that the count wasn't very good. They weren't getting a good count, and he, last year he did his one route and he saw 36 birds on his best day. I don't know how far. I'd like to get Mr. Bogenschultz on here to kind of explain how they do that, but he did his route 2 mornings in a row, and he saw 10, then he saw 12, and he goes, I don't know what happened, if it was too dry or what, but I said, well, they're not out drying off, and Then he went the next weekend when it was really wet. We had it was really hot, and then it cooled off, so we had a lot of humidity in the air, and it settled, and he saw 52. So
Yeah.
a lot of people saying, I've been talking to some of the farmers that are going now, and they're telling me, last night I talked to one, and he goes, I am seeing a lot of birds. He's even seen small ones. So the third hatch birds that you might only have 2 or 3.
Yeah,
And
that's
if the
what I've been hearing too.
And if the hen survives it, she'll raise them up, and they're seeing that. And heck, we saw turkeys last Sunday. Steph and I went for a ride, just looking around, and we saw turkeys the size of this coffee cup yet. So they even had late hatches, and now that we got all this rain, it'll really maybe activate the bugs. And
Where
get
they
'em that-
saying the hot spot is still up kind of northwest central.
Yeah,
kinda up
northwest
there?
central Iowa. I've been up there a lot for work as of late, and like Highway 20 north, and I'm seeing just as many birds there as I am around home, and even coming down here this way, I'm seeing them on the side of the roads, and I did actually see a few on a picked bean field today. But I think as far as if the numbers were good last year, they're just better. If the numbers were low, they're a little better. There's portions of Iowa, like northeast Iowa and Decorah area, where they never had good bird numbers, and I spent a lot of time up there for work, and usually like to go out. There's a little store called Highlandville, and they sell a certain kind of soda, and there's a bunch of neat areas out there where the trout streams run through. And if I'm up there and I get a few minutes in the extra in the day, I'll drive out there and just kind of see. And I've been seeing birds out there, and that's just hilly, woody area. And
I've heard that northeast Iowa is good there.
And it sounds like
That's
a couple of the
amazing.
hunters that I know up there is, I'm actually going to do a pheasant hunt with Steph for Steph's organization the second week of season. And we're going to hunt all private and public land, and who she's been talking to coordinate all this say that they've been seeing a lot of birds. So, yeah, I think the whole state's pretty good. Down southeast Iowa, I think they still have bird number issues, but their terrain's different, so where they have really good, really good cover, you're going to have birds, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. I think, if you can find, like I said, if you can find the cover, I think the birds will be there. And so hopefully we'll have a good year in Iowa, and we need that to keep things going. And but yeah, that's kind of the things that have been happening here. We're going to, like I said, we're going to get the heroes hunt done, and we'll probably start doing some guiding after that, perhaps, and as you as well, with some of your hunt stuff that you got going on. But like to get in some of them wild birds and see how they're doing this year. I didn't get much wild hunting done last year, but hopefully I can get a little more. I know you went on a trip to Kansas, and
Already got another one planned. So
I might. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how. We'll see. Otherwise, we might have to we might have to link up with you in Kansas like we did with Bret tonight. So, all right. So we might have a question. Somebody is trying to ask us.
Yeah, this one comes from TC. It says, "Hey guys, have you ever hunted chuckers out west? Will you be doing any future shows about Western U.S. upland hunting, preferably with English setters? Thanks. Love your show."
I have not.
Does that sound like an invitation?
I think it did.
That's the way I
TC, leave us your information below. That is something. I got some buddies that just went out there and they had a blast. They hunted a little bit of everything, but only time I've hunted chuckers is obviously Ryan will have a few down at his place, but it's a whole different thing. Had a guy. They had bought like 500 chuckers from a guy. He was getting out of the business and he didn't have any money, so they released a bunch and didn't tell us. So we hunted this 400-acre CRP plot, and Sugar, my old dog, I had her as a pup yet, and she went on point, and this little bird gets up and just flies level height of the grass. What in the heck was that? And they're all laughing. Why didn't you shoot it? I said, what was it? He goes, well, there's 500 chuckers out here. Have a blast. So that's the only time I've ever shot chuckers.
The only thing I know is there aren't a lot of old chucker hunters, It just, it's just, because chuckers don't play fair. And from out the wild chuckers out in west, related to his question is my understanding is they like the higher elevation. They're up on these fairly steep inclines, and to get them, you got to really go up there and work your tail off to get up on those elevated edges. And for an old guy, I don't know how that would go, but I'll drive the truck and I'll meet you guys down at the end. How about that?
Well, our very first guest, Bret Wanacott, he's up out there, and he's pretty well versed in that. So
yeah,
maybe we need to have a little.
But
guest
getting back
appearance
to the
from him
question,
again.
we'd love to talk a little more. We'd love to do some more guest stuff with people. So if you're a chucker hunter and that's your thing, let us know.
Yeah.
We'd like to get you on the podcast and talk about the strategies and what that's all about. And especially if you're doing that with a setter, that'd be pretty cool. So got another question coming in. What is that one, Will?
As soon as I mute my microphone there, this one comes from Park L. Says, love the podcast. Say, I've become very interested in bird hunting out in the West. Will you have any shows featuring a Western bird hunter coming up? Sure, preferably it would be a setter man or woman.
I have a couple feelers out there for both men and women that are out there hunting, and I'm working on just getting dates coordinated. When hunting season comes on, it's difficult to get a guy to take the time to sit down with us.
We had Tom Foy on, and he's a big he chases chuckers as well as a lot of other birds in Idaho, and then of course our good friend Greg Pierce out in Montana. I'm sure Greg is at it as we speak.
I have seen some social media updates from him.
And so we've had a few guests on related to the out west hunting stuff, but we'd like to talk to some more. We had somebody kind of lined up for California because there is some bird hunting there. We're always interested in talking to people from states that we haven't really had check in yet, but we'll be doing some more of that. We'll look into more Western bird hunting.
Yeah, and I've been watching Tyler and texting back and forth with him on Instagram, and he is having a blast out west with his hawk. That hawk has got a lot of confirmed birds, and if you haven't, I believe his Instagram handle is Quail Hawk, and he's got some really cool little short videos of the hawk, and I've seen him catch a few out of the sky, and then they had birds go down the canyon and land, and that hawk just dove down 100 mile an hour, and boom, he's got it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's been hunting hard, and I think he's doing pretty well. I think he's killed all the quail species now. I think he's got some sharp tails under the belt already. So I know he's really going after it right now.
Tremendous. Let's.
And if you want to send us a message, go ahead and reach out to us on all our social media platforms. We'll put all that up there.
Yeah, we like
reach
doing
out
that.
to us if you know somebody that would be interested in coming on the podcast, and it's all about logistics. We've got a lot of guests lined up, and just it's hunting season. So if they're not hunting, they're working, and if they're not working, they're hunting. So we are more than interested in interviewing anybody of all walks of life and different kind of hunting.
Yeah,
so.
like Thomas said, if you're interested and would know somebody that you think would make a good guest, or you're interested in coming on to talk about a certain upland bird subject or dogs, drop us a line, and we will get in contact with you and line something up for the future. We're always looking for that. I don't know. I can't wait. I'm just kind of looking. It's kind of like Christmas time coming, for upland bird hunting guys. So, you can send any of those emails and stuff into our address at settertails@protonmail.com. And just the subject line, open fields, and we will answer your questions or anything that you might have. And that makes it a lot more fun for us because we kind of can, know what you're interested in, and it might be, about this guy and how well he shoots, and and some other things that there's only a few select people really know the truth about. So I'd be more than happy to give up that information if you ask the right question. But it's been fun tonight. It was great checking in. I love that from the field. I mean, I don't think we could. Thinking about talking to Bret up there in North Dakota, and hopefully we'll do some more of that. So, if you're out there someplace right now and, you want to get on a show in the future and we can link up by your phone, I think that'll be very cool. In fact, we might do some of that with when you're out running and gunning, and and myself as well. It's just kind of a cool way to stay connected and say, hey, here I am. I know I'm not there in the studio to do the podcast, but here I am. So make sure you subscribe. Many of you are. It's beautiful. Things are really starting to grow. So continue to do that. Send us the questions, and you know what? Make sure you take somebody hunting this year
And keep their nose in the wind.